Hi everyone, Steve the Amateur Historian, heading towards the vicinity of Southeast 6th and Ankeny streets. Still residential for now, but it's going to be a little bit more commercial when I get over there. Now, nowadays, every now and then someone kind of goes over the top, but nowadays, when you get fired, you lose your job, there's a matter of different ways you can handle it. You know, if you feel like you've been wrongfully fired, you can try taking legal action. You can try schmoozing your boss, offering to do something else, preying on their sympathies. Maybe you'll get lucky enough to get your job back. Some others go out in a blaze of glory. They go out backing out the front door of the place, saying this place sucked and I hated it anyway, giving the finger to your boss, just laying it all on the line and leaving and gone forever. You know, usually there's some fireworks, but usually when one gets dismissed from their job, that's kind of the beginning and the end of it. But every so often, people take things to another level when it comes to getting fired from your job. And that's the focus of this fresh episode of Historic Murders of Portland. So as you can see, definitely gaining a little bit more city-fied. Got a little bit of downtown off in the distance. Getting closer to where we want to be. Yes, old ghost signage. I haven't really seen a lot of this on the east side of the river, so those are awesome, rare finds. Anyway, just a couple blocks away from where today's story, where the murder took place. I also love in this area these isolated, really awesome old houses that are like surrounded by all this contemporary stuff, and they're just kind of peppered in to the commercial areas. Turn this corner, I'm now on 6th and on my way towards where I need to be. Oh man, no way. Good luck strikes twice. I don't know how well you can see it. Got some more ghost signage on the side of this building too. They're all really old buildings or really new ones in this area. Trying to get to the intersection, but there's this mentally ill guy. He's just pacing back and forth literally right where I want to stand, which is unfortunately very common when you're trying to not just vlog but like live in Portland. You have to stop and wait for lunatics to just leave. Alright, finishing our approach. This is 6th and Ankeny. Fairly, you got plenty of city over here. Fairly bustling area. And this is the site where, so the story goes, mixing up all my info. November 16th, 1908, approximately 8:30 p.m. There was a guy named Harry Kenney who owned a saloon, just for verification. Of course, I wouldn't get it specifically. Nope, I just know that it's on Southeast 6th and Ankeny, which is this intersection. For some reason, common sense tells me it was on the southeast corner, which is right across the street from me right now. There's this really cool old building here, and lots of hubbub going on, and there was a lot of hubbub going on back here November 16th, 1908, when a guy named Harry Daly, who used to work, I'm sorry, there's a lot of distractions out here. Harry Daly used to work at the saloon that Harry Kenney had on this block. He was let go for reasons that, at least to me, are unknown. I don't know exactly why he got fired. It had been several months since he'd been fired. You'd think the guy would have moved along with his life. But this evening, he apparently showed up at Kenney's saloon and asked for his job back after he'd been seemingly missing in action for months. And as the story simply put, Kenney said no. Daly pulled out a gun and gunned him down. Now that's the conventional story. That's the story that was first reported in newspapers. Pretty simply put together. However, the one primary witness in this case, a guy named Thomas Lyons, who was there that night. I don't know if he frequented the place, if he was close with either of the two men, but he was there and he became the primary witness, it seems, in this case. Somewhere over here is where it was. Don't know the exact which side of the intersection it was on. But, and I'm kind of walking away, there's just in like the 2-block radius of that building a lot of suspicious people, and I've got a camera. I don't need any paranoid people chasing after me. Pretty cut and dry. This vlog's turning into a nightmare. I can't get away. I'm surrounded everywhere I try to go. I'm trying to get across Grand Avenue, which is not easy when there's no crosswalks. There's just like this creepy guy staring at me, creepy woman on the other block. And now there's this young woman back here whose like top came undone and it just flopped down and her boobs popped out, and she looks like she's a little bit out of her mind and like trying to fix it but doesn't know. And there's a lot of insanity going on in this area right now, and I'm just trying to tell a murder story, you know? I didn't realize everything was going to come apart like that. That was such a hassle. I literally couldn't stay in the area where the event happened. There was too much chaos going on. There was like 4 or 5 sketchy people in my vicinity. Okay, Thomas Lyons. I'm going to retell the whole Thomas Lyons account because I couldn't get it out in one breath without there being distractions everywhere. Thomas Lyons, a key witness. He said there was a lot more to this situation than meets the eye. Ooh. Not getting distracted by abandoned buildings. Thomas Lyons says that what actually happened is... God, I hope I don't get hassled over here either. He said that Harry Daly comes in, asked Harry Kenney for his job back. Oh God, there's that woman whose top was falling down. I can't get away. I can't get away. All right. No, we're good. We're good. We're going to roll. We're going to keep it rolling. All right. So Harry Daly walks in, asks Kenney for his job back. Kenney says no, and apparently has just kind of a no, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out mentality on it. Just walks away. So that probably pissed Daly off more, who at this point is very inebriated, very drunk. It's a very problematic situation. But Harry Kenney's a guy that runs a saloon. He's probably used to dealing with drunk people, and most of them probably haven't tried to shoot him. Here's another crazy guy. But Harry Daly gets pretty pissed because of this kind of dismissive response. Didn't even really give him the time of day. So he storms up to Kenney, who walks away and sits down at a table with some other guys. I'm thinking this is where Thomas Lyons was sitting. And reportedly, Harry Daly just walked up, shot Kenney from behind, shot him in the shoulder, which implies he just walked up behind him, boom, from behind. But they also had an exchange, according to Thomas Lyons. Apparently, Harry Daly thought he was entitled to some, I guess you could call it back pay for work he'd done. Obviously, Kenney also turned that request down. And he told Kenney right to his face, like, I will shoot you. Give me my job back, give me my money, give me something, or I will shoot you. And Kenney, being this probably grungy 60-year-old saloon owner, said, well, go ahead and do it. And he tempted a pissed-off drunk man to shoot him, so Harry Daly shot him. And Kenney didn't die of the gunshot wound because reportedly in the papers, he was shot in the shoulder. So you think, I know it's 1908 and whatever, but he really died of a gunshot wound in the shoulder. Like, that was all it took. But it wasn't the actual gunshot wound that killed him. It was, you know, again, this guy's about 60 years old, you know, which compared to today's standards, this guy was an elderly gentleman. You know, if you're 60 years old in 1908. And he actually didn't die of the wound. He actually went into a state of shock after he was hit by the gunfire. And it was the state of shock that ultimately killed him. It wasn't the actual wound. Which can happen, you know, when you're that old. You know, I don't know what the guy's health situation was like, but that was what actually killed him. And then, according to Lyons, Harry Daly, you know, kept his gun drawn on anybody who was going to try to come at him, backed up to the door, you know, everybody stay calm, stay cool, and then backed out and took off. It would be 2 hours after the shooting before Harry Daly would ultimately be tracked down. He'd be tracked down in another saloon because apparently coming in to Harry Kenney's place already drunk as hell. It wasn't enough, you know, when you gun someone down, you gotta go drink a little more to drown your sorrows, I guess. However, before he ended up at this saloon, which in the papers I found a name but never found a location, so I don't know where exactly Harry Daly was apprehended. But I do know that in the immediate aftermath of the shooting, he ran to, I believe it was a rooming house that he lived in. That was located at 9th and Davis, which is this intersection right here. There is an old house here. I don't know if it's old enough, but obviously this place is a lot more commercial than it used to be. There's only a few homes on the southeast corner, but this is 9th and Davis. Whoa, almost fell off the curb. So definitely looked much different, you know, over 100 years ago. But Harry Daly lived at this intersection, and first thing he did after the shooting was he fled home. We're only like 5 blocks from where Harry Kenney's saloon was located, so not too far to go. And he ran back here first. What his plans were, maybe he planned to hide out here. I don't know why after you shoot someone you'd pick your home to hide in. But he was here for a while, and then he left and ended up at this other saloon where he was ultimately captured at. So what his plans were, I don't think he was clear enough in the mind to know exactly what he was doing, and that probably is why, instead of making a run for it after gunning someone down, he just went home and then popped into another saloon and pretty much just was waiting there to be captured. So the immediate defense put forth, as was often the case, was insanity, at least temporary insanity, for a guy who apparently was pretty drunk when he arrived on the scene. But the defense they established was that Harry Daly had actually been fired, it seems, several months before, like some 8 months earlier. Couldn't find a replacement job. And so the defense put forth for him was this idea that pretty much from the moment he got fired, he started like coming apart, and as he couldn't find a job and more time passed, his insanity like grew and it like festered in his mind, and it was like this idea that the more and more time passed that he couldn't find a job, the more and more he held his old boss Harry Kenney accountable. So he fueled him up with booze like they all seemed to do back in the day, and took matters into his own hands, but he was completely out of his mind through the whole thing. So it was essentially a foregone conclusion that he was probably going to be convicted, and he was. He was convicted of first-degree murder. They didn't buy the insanity defense since the guy just came in. He had a gun with him. It all seemed very premeditated. Yeah, he was convicted on that first-degree murder charge and sentenced to hang. And while in the end he still felt that sentence was, or that conviction was unjust, he still in the aftermath said he would rather be hung than die in prison. So it seemed like, to an extent, he was happy with the conclusion, at least as happy as you can be when you're convicted on a murder charge in court, I guess. And that was it for Harry Daly. He was sentenced to hang, and that was the end of that case.